Let's be honest, any man can be attracted to your looks, but the man who's serious about you is studying your character. He's watching how you handle yourself when no one's watching, because he wants to know, can I build a life with this woman? When men are genuinely interested in a woman, one of the first and most subtle things they do is look for consistency. Consistency is not about perfection, it is about alignment. A man who is serious about you is watching to see if what you say lines up with what you actually do. For example, if you tell him that honesty is important to you, but then you laugh off moments where you are not fully transparent, he notices. If you say you value respect, but you allow someone to cross your boundaries without consequence, he pays attention. It is not because he is trying to trap you or catch you out, but because consistency reveals character. Anyone can make statements about who they are, but the real test comes when life presents situations that challenge those statements. That is where the truth shows up. Men, especially those who are intentional about relationships, do not just listen to the words, they observe the patterns. They want to see whether your actions reflect the values you claim to live by. This does not mean you cannot make mistakes or have off days, but if your behavior regularly contradicts your words, it raises doubts about authenticity. A woman might say she values self-respect, but if she repeatedly entertains someone who treats her poorly, it sends a different message. Similarly, she might talk about being independent and having her own life, yet if she drops everything at the first call from him, he begins to wonder if her independence is only an idea rather than a reality. This kind of inconsistency does not necessarily make someone a bad person, but it does show that they are not fully aligned with the identity they present. Men also use consistency as a way of predicting what life with someone will feel like in the long run. In the early stages of dating, people are usually putting their best foot forward. Everyone is polished, careful with their words, and eager to impress, but no one can hold up a mask forever. Over time, the real personality surfaces, and consistency is what bridges the gap between first impressions and reality. A man is quietly asking himself, will this woman behave tomorrow in a way that reflects what she promised today? If he sees a pattern of reliability and truth in your actions, he feels safer investing his emotions. But if he sees that your words are flexible depending on mood, circumstances, or who is watching, he may pull back. Not because he dislikes you, but because uncertainty makes it difficult to trust. Consistency is also tested in small, almost invisible moments. For instance, if you say you are looking for something serious, he may watch how you respond when a more casual opportunity presents itself. If you claim you value kindness, he may pay attention to how you treat the waiter at dinner. These are not dramatic tests, they are quiet observations, but they reveal far more than direct questioning ever could. Words can be rehearsed, actions cannot. What you do when you think no one is paying attention often carries more weight than what you say in a planned conversation. At its core, the consistency test is not about being rigid or flawless. It is about showing that your identity is stable, your principles are not situational, and your values are not just for display. Men who are truly serious are not impressed by the surface charm of words alone. They are drawn to the depth of a woman whose choices, behaviors, and standards line up with the story she tells about herself. When a man is truly interested in a woman, one of the clearest ways he tries to understand her is by observing how she handles her own boundaries. Boundaries are not walls to push people away. They are signals of self-respect and standards. A man who is thinking long-term wants to see if you stand by what you believe in, when attraction, chemistry, or desire might tempt you to bend those rules. It is not about testing you with cruelty, but rather noticing whether you have the strength to honor yourself even in situations where it might feel uncomfortable. If you say you do not tolerate lateness and he shows up up late multiple times. He will pay attention to whether you speak up or stay silent just to keep the peace. If you have expressed that you do not rush intimacy, he will notice whether you hold to that standard when the moment comes, or whether you compromise out of fear that he might lose interest. These are not just moments of choice, they are lessons for him about how you will handle the relationship dynamic moving forward. What boundaries reveal most is whether you have a clear sense of your own value. A woman without boundaries is easy to attract but difficult to respect. When you let a man cross lines without consequence, you may feel that you are being flexible or easygoing, but often what he perceives is that you are afraid to lose him and therefore willing to shrink your standards. On the other hand, when you uphold your boundaries with calm confidence, you show that your value is not tied to his approval. Men find this magnetic because it communicates that you are not operating from desperation, you are operating from choice. Boundaries also create a natural filter. They determine the quality of connection you allow into your life. A man who is genuinely interested and emotionally mature will respect the boundaries you set, even if it means he has to wait or adjust. A man who is only after something casual will push against them, hoping to break them down. By staying firm, you end up revealing the difference between someone who wants you for real and someone who only wants access without effort. Without boundaries, you may keep both types of men around, but with boundaries, you naturally separate those who align with your standards from those who do not. Men sometimes test boundaries not out of malice, but out of curiosity. They want to know if your standards are strong or if they are negotiable based on the pressure of the moment. For example, if you say you need communication and consistency, he may pull back slightly to see how you respond. Do you chase, do you ignore it, or do you calmly express that it does not work for you? Your response tells him whether your boundary is a principle or just a preference. The truth is, a man who sees that you are firm in your boundaries may not always like the restriction in the moment, but he will respect you more deeply because it shows strength of character. In relationships, boundaries are not about control. They are about clarity. They set the framework for how you want to be treated and how you will treat him in return. A man wants to know that if he invests his heart in you, he is stepping into a partnership where respect is mutual and standards are honored. By holding firm to your boundaries, you are not just protecting yourself, you are teaching him how to engage with you, and that lesson shapes the foundation of the connection. When a man is drawn to a woman, one of the most telling things he quietly observes is how she reacts emotionally when faced with pressure, conflict, or disappointment. Attraction and chemistry may ignite quickly, but what sustains a connection is how two people handle the inevitable moments when things do not go as planned. Men test this, often without realizing they are doing it, by noticing how a woman manages her emotions when she feels triggered. The reaction is less about the specific situation and more about the pattern it reveals. Does she explode when frustrated, retreat into silence, or remain calm while expressing her feelings clearly? Each of these responses signals to him what kind of partner she might be in the long run. A man might be late to a date, forget to call when he said he would, or tease her about something in a playful way, and while he is not always consciously testing, he is watching the response. If she lashes out with anger or becomes overly dramatic, he sees volatility. If she completely swallows her feelings and pretends it does not matter, he senses avoidance. But if she can address the situation honestly and calmly, he recognizes maturity and emotional intelligence. To him, this is not just about that single moment, it is about projecting forward. If small things create chaos, what will happen when bigger challenges arise in the relationship? Emotional reactions are powerful indicators of security and resilience. Men want to know that the woman they are investing in can navigate her emotions rather than being ruled by them. This does not mean suppressing feelings, because suppression creates distance, but it means having the ability to process an emotion before unleashing it. For instance, instead of responding with instant accusations, a thoughtful woman might say, "I felt disappointed when you didn't follow through," which communicates both the truth of her feelings and her capacity to handle them with grace. This kind of response not only commands respect, but also inspires a man to rise to her level, because he sees that her emotional standards are higher than reactive outbursts. Men also test emotional reactions by observing how a woman responds to external frustrations. Maybe it is the traffic on the way to dinner, maybe it is a rude waiter, maybe it is a moment where plans fall apart. In these instances, he is not evaluating whether she is always cheerful, but whether she allows outside circumstances to completely dictate her mood. If her energy crumbles and turns the entire experience sour, he notes that instability. If she finds a way to stay grounded and even laugh about the inconvenience, he recognizes adaptability. This matters deeply because a man who is considering a future with someone knows that life will bring stress, and he wants to feel assured that his partner will not make every bump in the road into an emotional storm. Another layer of this test shows up in conflict with him directly. Men will sometimes push boundaries lightly with teasing, sarcasm, or small disagreements just to see if she can hold her own without escalating. A woman who can assert herself firmly but playfully, or disagree without turning it into warfare, demonstrates balance. She shows she can stand strong without becoming combative, and that balance is extremely attractive. It tells him she will be a partner who can handle differences without destroying the connection. Ultimately, the way a woman reacts emotionally reveals her level of self-awareness and stability. Men who are serious about commitment are not drawn to chaos. They are drawn to women who can feel deeply, yet express those feelings with clarity and control. By showing that her emotions are a source of connection rather than destruction, she communicates that she is not only passionate but also dependable, and that makes her stand out in a way no superficial charm ever could. When a man is genuinely interested in a woman, one of the most important things he tries to understand is whether she truly values herself and her life outside of the relationship. This is often what people refer to as the value test. It is not about wealth, status, or beauty, but about the richness of who she is as a person when she is not standing next to him. Men want to see whether she has passions, goals, and a sense of identity that cannot be erased by romance. If all of her attention and energy immediately revolve around him, he may feel flattered at first, but soon he begins to wonder if her sense of worth depends entirely on his validation. That kind of dynamic eventually feels heavy because it is built on need rather than choice. A woman who holds her own value communicates that she has a life worth protecting and investing in, and this makes a man lean in rather than pull away. If she has her own friendships, her own career ambitions, her own hobbies, and things that light her up independent of him, he sees that she is not looking for a relationship to complete her, she is looking for one to complement her. This difference is critical because it separates women who attach from a place of scarcity and fear from women who connect from a place of fullness and abundance. Men feel this distinction deeply. They sense when someone's identity vanishes into the relationship, and they sense when someone remains whole while still choosing to share that wholeness. Value also shows in the way she handles attention and affection. A man will often pay attention to whether she accepts poor treatment just because she wants to keep him close, or whether she has the confidence to walk away from something that does not align with her worth. It is not that he is hoping she will reject him, but he is noticing whether her standards are real. If she only talks about valuing herself but compromises at the first sign of inconsistency, it tells him her sense of value is fragile. But if she demonstrates calmly and without drama that she will not settle for less than respect, he feels both challenged and inspired to rise to her level. Another element of the value test test is how she treats herself on a daily basis. Does she invest time in her growth, her health, her appearance, her learning, not because she wants to impress him, but because she knows she is worth that care? Men notice whether a woman's actions show self-respect or self-neglect. A woman who lives with intention sends a message without saying a word. She is not waiting for someone to bring her value. She already embodies it. This creates attraction that is rooted in admiration rather than mere desire. Men also watch how she interacts with the world around her. Does she bring energy into conversations, treat people kindly, and contribute something meaningful to her environment? Or does she shrink into the background, expecting others to define her role? A man who is serious about finding a partner is looking for someone who not only values herself, but also brings value to the relationship and to life in general. When he sees that she has depth, perspective, and purpose, he feels that being with her will expand his world rather than narrow it. The value test is not about perfection or proving worth through achievements. It is about demonstrating that you know who you are, that you honor yourself, and that you live as though your time, energy, and love are precious resources. A man who sees this is drawn in, not because you need him, but because you have shown him that you are someone worth cherishing, someone whose presence adds richness to his life, and someone who will not lose herself just to keep him close. When a man is genuinely interested in a woman, one of the most subtle but revealing things he notices is how she treats others when he is not directly involved. This is what can be called the loyalty and integrity test, and it runs deeper than most people realize. It is not just about whether she would cheat or stay faithful, but about how she carries herself in everyday interactions and whether her character is consistent no matter who she is dealing with. Men understand that how a woman treats strangers, friends, or even her ex says far more about her long-term behavior than the way she treats him in the early stages of romance, when the chemistry and excitement are naturally high. For example, if he observes her being warm and respectful to a waiter, a receptionist, or someone who cannot offer her anything in return, he begins to trust that she operates from principle rather than convenience. If she is kind only when it benefits her, but dismissive or rude when there is nothing to gain, he wonders whether her kindness toward him is simply situational. Integrity, in this sense, is about consistency of character. Men know that the honeymoon phase eventually fades, and when it does, what matters most is whether the person beside them will still show respect and loyalty when the relationship is not glittering with novelty. Another part of this test lies in how she speaks about people who are no longer in her life. If she constantly trashes her exes, mocks her friends behind their backs, or reveals personal details about others without hesitation, a man sees that as a warning sign. He cannot help but imagine that one day, if things go wrong, she might do the same to him. On the other hand, if she speaks with balance, acknowledging the truth of past pain without bitterness or unnecessary cruelty, he feels reassured that she handles relationships with maturity. It shows him that loyalty for her is not limited to when things are easy, but that she carries integrity even through endings. Men also look at loyalty in the smaller commitments. If she promises to show up for a friend but then cancels easily, if she agrees to something but rarely follows through, these little breaks in integrity do not go unnoticed. To him, these are glimpses into how she might show up in a partnership. He is not expecting perfection, but he is looking for reliability, because reliability builds trust. When he sees that her word means something and that she treats commitments with respect, he feels safer investing emotionally. Loyalty also reveals itself in how she supports people she cares about. A man pays attention to whether she uplifts her friends or tears them down, whether she celebrates others' wins or secretly competes with them. These dynamics matter because they reflect the environment she creates around her relationships. A woman who is loyal not just romantically but in spirit creates a sense of stability, and that stability is attractive. It reassures him that if he lets his guard down, he will not be met with betrayal but with partnership. Even in conflict with him, integrity is tested. If she disagrees, does she fight fairly, or does she bring in unnecessary cruelty, manipulation, or betrayal of trust? If she can stay loyal to the bond even when angry, he sees that she values the connection beyond the momentary frustration. This kind of behavior shows him she is not someone who abandons ship when things get rough, but someone who stays anchored in respect. Ultimately, the loyalty and integrity test is about far more than surface behavior. It is about whether her character holds steady across situations, people, and time. A man who is serious about choosing a partner is not only looking for beauty, charm, or chemistry, he is looking for someone whose integrity assures him that she will stand by her values and by him when it truly counts. That kind of loyalty is not dramatic or flashy, but it is the foundation of trust, and without it, no relationship can thrive. When a man is serious about a woman, one of the quiet ways he evaluates her is through effort. Relationships are built on reciprocity, and while men often enjoy pursuing and giving, they are also highly aware of whether their energy is being matched. Effort in this sense is not about grand gestures or expensive surprises. It is about the willingness to invest in the connection rather than simply receiving. Men notice if a woman appreciates what they do, but even more than appreciation, they notice if she responds in kind. If he plans a thoughtful evening, does she make the effort to show up engaged, present, and grateful? If he goes out of his way to check in, does she also initiate sometimes, or does she leave the work of building the relationship entirely on his shoulders? These little signals tell him whether she sees the relationship as a shared experience or as something she expects to be given to her. Effort also shows in emotional investment. A man who is considering a future with someone pays attention to whether she contributes to the emotional atmosphere between them. Does she open up about her thoughts and feelings, or does she wait for him to do all the vulnerable work? Does she make space for his emotions as well, or only focus on what she needs? Men may not always articulate this, but they feel the weight of carrying emotional responsibility alone. When a woman puts in the effort to connect on a deeper level, to ask questions, to listen, and to create intimacy, he feels that she is just as committed to building something meaningful as he is. Practical effort is another area where men take quiet notice. It is not about traditional roles or expectations, but about partnership. If he drives to see her, does she sometimes make the trip too? If he cooks for her, does she offer to do the same another time? These gestures might seem small, but they carry enormous symbolic weight. They tell him that she is not approaching the relationship with entitlement, but with a spirit of giving. Relationships become unbalanced when one person feels like they are pouring in while the other only receives, and men can sense that imbalance quickly. Effort, even in small doses, balances the scales and strengthens his belief that the connection is mutual. There is also the effort of presence. In today's world, distractions are endless, and a man pays attention to whether a woman makes an effort to be genuinely present when they are together. Putting the phone away, engaging in real conversation, noticing details about him, and remembering the little things he shares are forms of effort that make him feel valued. When he sees that she is intentional in the time they spend together, it reassures him that she is not just passing the time, she is investing it. Another subtle form of effort comes through encouragement. A man will take note of whether a woman supports his ambitions, acknowledges his hard work, and motivates him in moments of doubt. This is not about fixing his problems or carrying his burdens, but about showing that she cares about his growth. A woman who takes the effort to uplift instead of criticize gives him confidence that she will be a partner in his journey, not an obstacle. This kind of effort is deeply attractive because it reflects belief in him as a man, and men are naturally drawn to women who see their potential and encourage it. the essence of effort is that it communicates value. When a woman invests time, energy, thought, and care, she shows that she does not take him for granted. Men are not expecting perfection or constant giving, but they are looking for signs that she sees the relationship as a two-way street. The willingness to contribute, even in simple ways, proves that she is not just there for what she can take, but for what she can build. In the long run, it is this balance of effort that convinces a man he is not just desired, but chosen, and that makes all the difference in how he views the future of the relationship. At the heart of it all, the way men test women they truly want is not about games or manipulation. It is about seeking reassurance that the connection is real, sustainable, and built on solid ground. They look for consistency to know your words match your actions. They notice your boundaries to see if you honor yourself. They watch your emotional reactions to understand how you handle pressure. They measure your sense of value to see if you bring a whole life to the table. They observe your loyalty and integrity to know if they can trust you, and they feel your effort to confirm that the relationship is a partnership. These quiet tests are not meant to intimidate but to reveal, because real attraction is not only about beauty, charm, or chemistry. It is about whether two people can build something strong, respectful, and lasting. And when a woman shows through her actions that she stands firm in who she is, a man who is serious will not just test, he will invest.